Hello everyone. Can you imagine that a seemingly harmless pregnant woman and a highly respected female police officer, admired by many, caused a horrifying case that involved dozens of innocent people? Moreover, this incident shook the entire nation. This is the most terrifying case to date, a series of tragic events with the Grim Reaper making an appearance right here in Thailand. So who is this cruel criminal? And how did they commit the crime? You may have heard of this case, but let's look at the full story in today's video. Sarah, 36 years old, graduated with a degree in public relations. After graduation, she became an insurance salesperson and married a local police officer who was also a respected figure. The couple had been married for over 10 years and had 2 children, with both a house and a car. In the eyes of the local people, they were a model couple, admired by everyone. Thanks to her police status, Sarah made connections with many wealthy friends. On April 14, 2023, Sarah, who was 4 months pregnant, went to the Mekong River with a friend to release fish as a part of a Buddhist ritual. The friend, Shili Bing, 32 years old, was a wealthy businesswoman. Though she had not known Sarah for long, they quickly became close because they were in the same investment group. Given Sarah's status as a police officer, Shili Bing had no reason to be wary of her new friend. Together, they drove separately to the Mekong River, with Sarah carrying a bag of live fish to release into the river. However, as soon as they stepped out of the car, Sarah told Shili Bing that she had an urgent matter at home and had to leave, quickly crossing the road. Shili Bing, not thinking much of it, continued to release the fish into the river. Strangely, instead of heading straight home, Sarah stood on a high spot watching her friend, then moved to the roadside to continue observing her. The first victim? In just a moment, Shili Bing, who had been healthy and alert, suddenly collapsed by the river before she could finish releasing the fish. Tourists nearby rushed to help her, and all these events were within Sarah's view. Although she was on the road, she did not come down to help Shili Bing. Instead, she ran straight to the parked car, grabbed something from it, and then returned to observe Shili Bing's condition. It seems she returned to confirm something, and then quickly went back to the car and fled the scene. A kind person called an ambulance, but Shili Bing never came back. The hospital declared that she died of heart failure, a condition often seen in patients with pre-existing heart conditions, such as those with severe cardiovascular disease or high blood pressure. But the issue here is that Shili Bing was only 32, an age of peak health, not staying up late or working overtime. How could she suffer from such chronic illnesses and suddenly die of heart failure? Her family began to suspect that her death was unnatural, especially since immediately after her death, 4 valuable items were missing: a luxury handbag, a mobile phone, about 50,000 baht in cash, and a car. To uncover the truth, Shili Bing's family reported to the police and requested an autopsy. Before the investigation results came out, the police examined the victim's itinerary on the day of the incident. They discovered that she had gone to Sarah's house before heading to the Mekong River to release the fish. It could be preliminarily concluded that the last person the victim interacted with was Sarah. The police promptly sent officers to her house, but during interrogation, she claimed that due to her pregnancy, she did not go anywhere with anyone, especially not with Li Bing on April 14th. The police had to present the evidence of the surveillance camera footage. Once again, she changed her statement, admitting that she had indeed gone to release fish with Shili Bing, but left early due to personal matters. Although there were many suspicious points in her testimony, the surveillance footage did not provide any concrete evidence linking Sarah to the victim's death. Eventually, the police found Shili Bing's car at Sarah's residence, but the other items, such as the phone and handbag, were still missing. The arduous journey of solving the case, the autopsy results came in. The forensic team found no traces of poison in Shili Bing's body, nor were there any signs of injury. As stated in the medical report, Shili Bing died of heart failure. With such autopsy results, the case file was effectively closed. The victim's death could not be classified as a murder. However, before closing the case, the Thai police and media received dozens of calls accusing Sarah, which took the investigation in a new direction. All the callers claimed that they had friends or relatives who had interacted with Sarah and had subsequently died for various reasons. There were a total of 14 such calls, including one from a woman named Ting Mei. She stated that she used to be very close to Sarah because their husbands were good friends from the police academy. At the beginning of 2020, Sarah borrowed 250,000 baht from her, but never repaid it. In early September, Ting Mei contracted COVID-19. Sarah invited her to a shopping mall and gave her a cough pill, claiming it was very effective, along with a bottle of orange juice. Sarah then made an excuse to leave the mall, leaving Mei alone. Soon after, Mei felt chest tightness, numbness in her limbs, and difficulty breathing. She immediately called Sarah for help, but received no response. Fortunately, she managed to call an ambulance in time and was saved in the nick of time. Shortly after being discharged from the hospital, Sarah approached her again and gave her a box of diet pills. This time, Mei was more cautious and did not take the pills. The police examined the pills and found they contained a poison called potassium cyanide. This is an extremely toxic substance, similar to white sugar, easily dissolvable in water, and a colorless chemical with a faint almond scent. If a person ingests 100 to 200 milligrams of this substance, they will show symptoms of poisoning within 45 minutes, lose consciousness within a minute, and if not treated within 2 hours, death is certain. The primary cause of death from this poison is cardiac arrest. Additionally, this substance evaporates very quickly. At room temperature, within 24 hours, 80% of the remaining amount in the blood, stomach, and intestines will dissolve, making it very difficult to detect. It can be said that this is an invisible weapon, the turning point of the case. With the crucial clue considered the key to solving this case, forensic experts conducted another autopsy on the bodies and, of course, discovered a tiny amount of potassium cyanide in the victims' stomachs. With this solid evidence, on April 25, 2023, just 11 days after the incident, the police finally apprehended Sarah. Among the clues provided by the victims, one involved a victim named Ban Khan, who was Sarah's ex-boyfriend. When Ban Khan passed away, she was the one by his side until he took his last breath. The person who filed the complaint to seek justice for Ban Khan was his friend. This friend went straight to the police station, holding a white bottle engraved with the symbol UN 1680, the code for potassium cyanide. According to the statement, Sarah had divorced her police officer husband last year, and shortly afterward, she started dating her husband's friend, Ban Khan. They had lived together for quite some time, and Sarah became pregnant. However, things did not stop there. On March 12, 2023, which was also her birthday, while on their way home after visiting a temple to perform a charitable ritual, Ban Khan suddenly collapsed, began vomiting, and lost consciousness upon reaching home. By the time the ambulance arrived, Ban Khan had already stopped breathing. The doctor diagnosed his death as heart failure, just like Shiley Bing's case. However, unlike the previous case, Ban Khan's family neither reported to the police nor requested an autopsy. Instead, they felt sorry for Sarah and transferred all of Ban Khan's assets to her, hoping she could raise his unborn child. Everything seemed to go as planned for the ruthless woman, but unfortunately for her, Ban Khan's friend noticed something suspicious. On the night Ban Khan died, Sarah threw a joyful birthday party with her ex-husband, flaunting a newly bought gold-embellished dress, which she even wore to Ban Khan's funeral. This made the friend highly suspicious that Ban Khan had been murdered by Sarah and her ex-husband. To seek justice for his friend, he sneaked into Ban Khan's house and found the white bottle. From this, the police deduced that all of her previous victims had been poisoned to death, as their causes of death were identical: acute heart failure. The police quickly investigated her house and car. At her ex-husband's house, they found many unlabeled medications, and upon testing, they discovered potassium cyanide. They even found a burnt pill bottle and some other items in the trash. As for the ex-husband, he owned a black car. On the driver's seat, the police found traces of the same poison. However, he firmly denied knowing anything about the medications in the house and even stated that the car was shared between the two of them, making the evidence found in the car irrelevant to him. Additionally, Sarah owned a white sedan, the same car she used with Shiley Bing before her death. Inside, the police found some tea bags containing potassium cyanide, leading them to conclude that the victim had been poisoned through the tea. When she stepped out of the car, the poison took effect, resulting in her death. Revealing the modus operandi, it has been determined that all previous victims died from a similar method, either eating or drinking something provided by Sarah. However, because their families did not request autopsies or report to the police after their deaths, she managed to evade suspicion for a long time. Why did she commit so many crimes? Was this demon in a woman's guise not afraid of anything? And what was her motive? At some point, she became addicted to online gambling and unknowingly accumulated a massive credit debt. To sustain her lifestyle, Sarah targeted wealthy acquaintances. The commonality among her victims was that they had all engaged in at least one financial transaction with her before their deaths. From these transactions, the police identified that Sarah had received money from around 20 individuals, aged 33, 45, all of whom had a close relationship with her. Among these, only a few victims survived. Most died, and the rest went missing. This implies that she could have poisoned up to 20 people, or even more. Tracing back 8 years, the first victim was not Sheely Bing, but a longtime friend named Jay, who had married a foreigner and mostly lived abroad. Sarah often borrowed money from Jay, but never repaid it. On July 7, 2015, Jay returned to the country to visit her family, and Sarah offered to pick her up at the airport. That very evening, before Jay could meet her family, she died in the apartment where she was staying. Even more horrifying, after Jay's death, Sarah forged some documents and sold Jay's house for 3.5 million baht. The house was completely cleared out by someone else. Not only was she ruthless, but Sarah also showed no shame. When Jay's family called her, she lied, saying that Jay had entrusted her with the matter before her death, and that the money had been transferred to Sarah's husband. After this incident, no new victims related to Sarah appeared until 2019, making it seem like she had reformed. However, just a year later, Sarah re-emerged, fully embracing her darker nature, committing a series of high-frequency crimes. She bought cyanide online, repackaged it into tea bags and pills, and kept it ready for use. To avoid detection, she cleverly mixed one poison pill with a box of regular medication, making it almost impossible to detect even upon inspection. To date, 2 police officers have fallen victim to her. One was Deputy Director Police Station, who died at the age of 36. On the day of his death, he went gold shopping with Sarah. The old pattern repeated. He collapsed on the way home and died on the spot. Another victim was a central inspector named Ni Bat, who died at 38 on April 1st, 2024. He had taken 110,000 baht to a temple for charity with Sarah. Tragically, he collapsed at the temple gate before he could perform the rites, and, as usual, all the money he carried disappeared without a trace. Moreover, there were several victims involved in financial dealings with Sarah. This game, very popular in the land of golden temples. Essentially, it's an illegal financial activity in the country. The police discovered on Sarah's phone that she was managing a Bai Hoi group consisting of 7 members. Besides our main perpetrator, 4 members had died mysteriously, and 2 had disappeared without a trace. The truth of the case. Summarizing all the events above, Sarah's method was exceedingly simple and brutal. She first befriended wealthy individuals from the upper class, then used all sorts of tactics to get close to them and gain their trust. Like a hunter waiting for her prey to lower its guard, she would then strike. Through methods such as borrowing money, insurance, borrowing cars, and organizing gatherings, she would extract money from her victims. When the victims realized the deception and demanded their money back, it was the deadline for her to act. If she couldn't borrow money from the victim, Sarah would poison them and take their possessions. Her favorite method was to invite victims to temples for blessings and then poison them. Sarah and her husband managed to embezzle a total of 78 million baht. This money was divided into small amounts and transferred into 11 different accounts. Surprisingly, she did not act alone, but had at least 6 accomplices besides her husband. These included her ex-husband Vivian, who managed the temple she frequently visited, her ex-boyfriend Pan Kun, and Pan Kun's boyfriend Gonpo. This group was suspected of helping Sarah murder her ex-boyfriend. Additionally, there were 3 other women involved, her half-sister and her elder sister. Her elder sister, a former nurse, owned a pharmacy. At her sister's house, the police found cyanide antidotes. Another woman under public suspicion was Sarah's defense lawyer. Before the case was discovered, this lawyer had helped Sarah win 2 lawsuits and had even gone to the victims to collect debts, indicating a long-standing relationship between them. Even in interviews, the female lawyer continued to defend Sarah as innocent. The police conducted a preliminary investigation into these accomplices and uncovered shocking details. At the beginning of 2020, Sarah abruptly filed for divorce from her ex-husband, a police officer, but they continued to stay in touch after the divorce. Despite this, she proceeded to date a new boyfriend named Pakun. Her ex-husband admitted that Sarah only dated Pakun for money, as they ran an illegal lottery business together. An elderly woman named Ta had transferred nearly 9 million baht to Sarah, trusting her to buy lottery tickets. However, Sarah betrayed her and transferred the money to Mr. K. Unable to get her money back, Mrs. Ta continuously sought out Sarah, who claimed she did not know Mr. K. In desperation, Mrs. Ta approached Sarah's ex-husband. He, knowing the situation, claimed he had divorced Sarah long ago and that the matter had nothing to do with him. Moreover, the illegal lottery business meant reporting it to the police was not an option, leaving Mrs. Ta with no choice but to leave empty-handed. When the case broke open, the police investigation revealed that the mysterious Mr. K was actually Pankun. Next, Sarah targeted another wealthy man named Saroj, who was married to a woman named Chotitawan. To deceive Saroj, Sarah accepted the role of a mistress. As predicted, Saroj was poisoned. Shortly after, Chotitawan, now a widow, remarried, and her new husband was none other than Pankun. Although Pankun was one of the victims, he had participated in the poisoning scheme before his demise, unaware that he was merely a pawn in someone else's game. On his birthday, Pankun died under mysterious circumstances. The police discovered that after his death, Sarah's ex-husband went to Pankun's house to take Sarah back. They even returned to seize Pankun's remaining assets. The evidence suggested that the divorce between Sarah and her ex-husband was a ruse to hunt more victims. The deputy police chief was entirely corrupt. The story was twisted to the point that Sarah accepted her ex-husband having other lovers. They were very comfortable with each other, even vacationing together, leading to speculation that the next victim was already in sight. On April 25th, the Thai police arrested Mrs. Sarah at a government housing complex in Bangkok, following a court order. But no official verdict has been issued yet. Given the heinous nature of her crimes, it's clear that her actions, driven by greed for money and material wealth, brought immense suffering and sorrow to many families. I believe the Thai law will justly punish her. What do you think about this story? What kind of retribution do you think awaits her? Are her accomplices more deserving of pity or condemnation? Let's wait and see. For now, this video concludes here. If you enjoyed it, please give us a like and subscribe to our channel. Thank you and see you next time. Goodbye.